So happy to see you all. I'm glad that we are all back and still here since there seems to be a lot of trouble going on at the moment. As we all know, a huge purge of people and very sad. Hello, Grandpa C. Great to see you. PM, Love by the Moon, Cat Spotter. Awesome. So today I have Chris. And Chris, I discovered on YouTube and I liked his channel. And so I invited him to talk to him and see what he has to share with us. His YouTube channel is also in the description and his website. So you can all check it out afterwards. And so, hi, Chris. How are you today?
Hey, Patricia, I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. I loved your channel and I accidentally bumped into it and I really, really liked it. And so, can you tell a bit about yourself so people know uh, something?
Okay. Well, it's a little bit difficult for me because I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm a digital marketer and a YouTuber, and I've kind of my YouTube channel is all about how to be free, and that means different things to different people. But I see that on various different levels. So I have a marketer. I have my own business. I teach other people how to have their own business so they can be free financially, so they're not dependent on a system that frankly mistreats them.
Exactly.
And you don't have to worry about you post the wrong thing on Facebook and somebody sends it to your job and gets you fired, that kind of thing. So free financially, free mentally, free from the propaganda that you're being bombarded with all the time, and free spiritually, because I think that's ultimately what lies at the bottom of everything.
That's
So
actually what I loved about this channel because that's exactly what I think everybody should start to see that big picture of, that freedom is in all aspects of our life. And yeah, I saw that was great. Let me just because now everybody's coming in, obviously. Hey, Sports Bra and Christina Love and Baking Yoda. I missed you. And so also let me say that guys, I don't have PayPal, you all know that, and so use the GoFundMe. Also, I cannot access my super chat, so they're kind of useless at the moment. But yeah, I really want to uh, talk to you about what exactly you how you started. So when did you wake up, for example?
um that's a good question. I mean, it's not like one particular moment. It's been something that's happened over the course of my life. I mean, when I was in college back in the, what was it, like 2008, I went to college. I was a big supporter of Ron Paul. And I don't know if you know Ron Paul, but
Yeah.
he put me onto a lot of things that I didn't know before about how the Federal Reserve works and that sort of thing. And then I was never very involved in spirituality until probably like 2 years ago, year and a half ago, something like that. And I lived in Brazil for 6 months, and
Okay.
their spirituality is just common. Like everybody recognizes it. I mean, even the people
Yeah.
that are Catholics or Protestants recognize that, well, frankly, people talk to spirits. It's not
Yes.
something hidden or controversial down there. It's just kind of accepted.
It's
um,
interesting because that's actually only in the West do they separate the two, right? From religions to spirituality. Well,
yeah, it's very strange. If you're a
yeah,
Christian, you follow a very spiritual religion, but 95% of us cut that part out.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's weird.
Well, I grew up with both. So I'm half Indonesian as well. So I grew up with that part where it's spiritual, life and death, and all these things. There is more and energy. But in the West, in Holland, for example, it's all, so
Mm.
everything is separated from each other. And so I'm so lucky that I grew up with both. So I learned that, yeah, from young age.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. And so while you were living there, you started to change in that aspect as well?
Yeah, yeah. Well, my wife introduced me to it. She comes from the both. which I honestly, I think is the right balance.
Yeah.
Because you have, on one side you have the Christians that reject spirituality, and they kind of get dogmatic and narrow-minded, and they misinterpret their own doctrine, in my opinion. And then on the other hand, you have the spiritual people who have absolutely no grounding. They just believe any spiritual teaching that comes to them, and they're all conflicting and contradicting each other because, spirits are just people that have passed on.
Yeah.
Some of them lie, some of them mislead, some of them don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And so it's just this completely wide open movement that anything goes.
Yeah.
And so I think that the two sides need each other.
Absolutely. It's also that you see that like this whole new age stuff, and then people want to look spiritual instead of being it. That is something that I've seen so much. And then they constantly talk about how spiritual they are and all that, and then you are or you're not.
Yeah. That's why JP Sears got popular, right? Just making fun of those people.
Gosh, yes, I love that guy. He just cracks me up all the time.
I met him just a week ago.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I would love to interview him.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing.
Do you know him personally?
I only talked to him for a few minutes. I went to his comedy show in Tampa.
Oh, he does comedy shows too.
Yeah.
But
which is good because they just demonetized him on Facebook like today or yesterday, I think.
Of course they did. I mean, really. Yeah. But he is so brilliant. The intelligence behind his humor is what I love.
For sure.
I had even a period that I thought, like, is he really spiritual? But then I can see he actually is.
Oh yeah.
But he makes fun of it.
He makes fun of the excesses in his own culture that he's coming from.
Yeah. I love it. I love that guy so much. I totally need to get him on as well. And so okay. So then you have a lot of videos about positive thinking, about how important it is to be positive, and why. So can you talk a bit about how you started your channel and how you decided to use these topics and to combine them?
Sure. Well, I started my channel I have a business coach who recommended that I start a channel. So when I started the channel, it was kind of going to be about business and making money. Yeah. And so as I got into it more, I started to realize that the money and the spirituality and the working on yourself mentally, they really go hand in hand. You can't separate the two.
Yeah.
If you try to start a business, what you find is that the greatest obstacles that you come up with are the ones that are within your own head. It's completely psychological. So you really have to do battle with your own psychology. And the more you get into this teachings about positive thinking and about having faith, the more you get through these obstacles and the more success you have on the business side. So I mix the two because to me they're basically the same thing.
I just told you actually about that, how much difficulty I have because it is a belief system in your head. And you said something interesting about that, how we are indoctrinated by thinking making money is bad, right?
Yeah. I was saying my business coach talks about this a lot. He says that his name's Myron Golden, by the way. If you want to look him up, he's very interesting. He says that the average American, by the time they turn 18 years old, have already watched in movies and in TV and media, have already watched 10,000 people get murdered by rich people. Because our media likes to portray rich people as the villains.
Yes.
And they do this in a way our media are master propagandists, right? They learned it from the Soviets in the 60s.
Right.
And so they don't come outright and tell you that rich people are evil. They insinuate it and they show you through example. And so when they show you 10,000 times a rich person murdering somebody, it gets ingrained into your subconscious that rich people are evil.
Yes.
And so if even if you realize that that's not true, that that's ridiculous,
Yeah.
it's really hard to shake that from your subconscious, because your subconscious works from observation. It doesn't really work from logic. And
Yeah.
so you've had 10,000 observations of the opposite thing as you're trying to believe. It makes it very difficult. So one of the things that I tell people all the time on my YouTube channel is, if you want to be successful at just about anything, cut yourself off from the media as much as you possibly can,
Yeah.
because it's poison.
It is. Well, I haven't had a TV like for years, but still, I have that belief system. Kind of like, how do you combine it? And like you see, many people, oh yeah, you all want to make money off it and blah blah blah. No, but there is this balance, right? Between, well, you need to live, but at the same time, you want to help people. Now, should you call that still a business? Is my question, because as soon as the word business comes in, to me it becomes all unpersonal, like not personal, and so that defeats the purpose of helping people, right? So how would you say you can combine that? How can you package that in a way that it becomes more acceptable? Because I have difficulty with it. I always think like, okay, I shouldn't be making money or whatever, because it doesn't coincide with helping people, and so the result is that you always stay poor. But how do you make both coexist without being not genuine, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, you make money by helping people. That's what I mean. That's what normally a successful business does. If you go buy food, then the fact that you're paying money to get the food means that you value the food more than you value the money, right? So they're making your life better. If you go buy a car, you value the car more than you value the money. Like anything that you buy, it's because you value it more highly. Now, that's not to say that there aren't unethical business practices, that people will sell you a car that breaks the next day or something, or people will sell you cocaine and get you addicted because you'll keep coming back, because consumers make bad decisions, and businesses prey on that sometimes. But in the most part, if you're willing to pay for something, it's because it's helping you. So if you want to be successful in business, be someone who helps,
Right.
and help more than you charge, basically.
But how do you make it? Because obviously I have that belief system kind of still, but also the people that want like your service and that need to pay may have that belief system. So how do you how would you like describe or no, justify it, that's the right word. How would you justify the way that you do that when you're, for example, a life coach,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're going to help people and all that? Because I do see, for example, take this guy, what's his name, Robbins, like the
Tony Robbins.
amount. Oh, Tony Robbins,
Tony
yes.
Robbins.
Like the amounts of money that somebody like that asks for one of his seminars or whatever he does. And then I think that is ridiculous, because if you think about how many people come at his events and then divide all that money, and then you think, yes, he's got expenses, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, the amount is just out of proportion. So I don't think that would be
It is.
fair, right? So then
Mhm.
how do you, well, how do you justify these things, right? And how do you make it justifiable, so in order not to become like a Tony Robbins? Because I think he's ridiculously expensive.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that you want to help people that cannot even afford it because they were in trouble. And so you see what I mean? They are
Yeah.
in, they are in problems, and usually that has to do with health. And so on top of that, also financially, and then they can't afford to go there because it's too expensive. How is that helpful?
Well, I think it's perfectly helpful. Again, he's only charging the people who are willing to pay. This isn't socialism where you put a gun in someone's head and say you have to pay,
Right.
right? It's people that are willing. And then on the other hand, someone like Tony Robbins has this kind of hierarchy of products where he has all of these YouTube videos that are available completely for free. So he's helping a lot of people for free or for, a couple cents for advertising.
Right.
And then he has books that are like 10 or 20 bucks. So you can buy his books and
will.
that'll help you. I mean, assuming you like his content. I don't really follow him very much.
No.
And then probably has like online courses that are a little more expensive. And then probably he has coaches that he's trained himself that are more expensive. And then if you want time with him, that's the most expensive.
Right.
So
Okay.
he's doing a lot of help for people that's free or almost free.
Yeah.
And then the people who are willing and have the means can pay for the more involved help. And the fact that something like that is expensive, it kind of filters people based on their interest. So if for example, if Tony Robbins came to me, and I'm not really a Tony Robbins fan, I don't really know much about him.
No, I used him as an example.
And he said, yeah, but he came to me being not much of a fan and said, hey, I'll personally coach you for 20 bucks. Then I'd say, sure, I'd be into that. And so what happens is then the person who is the biggest Tony Robbins fan in the world doesn't get coaching because I already took his spot.
Right.
So the
so it's quality
to filter for the people that are most interested.
Yeah. So what you're saying actually is it's quality over quantity.
Well, kind of. It's that the if something is a high price, that means that the person that wants it the most is the one who's going to get it.
Right.
Generally. I mean, not perfectly, because some people don't have the means. I understand that.
Yeah. I get it. But I forgot about the part where you say he also offers it for free, which is true, because otherwise I wouldn't have known about him. The reason I know about him is because I've seen his videos and stuff. So yeah, you have a point there. I just am not able to go to these events, but they are filmed and they are free to be shown. So yeah, good point. Didn't think of that.
But another, can I make another point?
Sure.
Just on the back end too, who knows what he's doing with that money, right? If you make $10 million and you donate 9 million of it, and if you're Christian and you believe what Jesus says, that don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing, that you're not going to brag about it. It's just if somebody is helping people and making money doing it, then chances are they're probably helping people with that money on the back end as well.
Yeah, that's true, because I recognize that actually, because I had a period where I made quite some money, and I felt kind of guilty because I was like, well, first of all, I don't need all that. But then as a human being, you would say, okay, I put it on the bank. Well, I'm not that type of girl. So what I did is I used what I needed and the rest I donated. Well, actually, I adopted a cow in Germany from slaughter. And but all sorts of things. And I would like donate like these small rescue animal rescue places, like for example in Bali, the ambulance, the animal ambulance was broken down and it's the only one they had, and so I donate there. And then I donate to individuals, not like big corporations that say they support and they want to save children, because I don't believe in those. I do believe in the small man that is actually putting in the effort. And so I think I donate like thousands of euros in that, only because I didn't feel it was correct to keep all that money at the time that I had. I only needed it for something specific, for my healing and for my therapies, which I did. And then the rest, I just donated it. And so, yeah, there you have a good point, because, well, that's indeed where, it's important for people to know that it's not just about money. It's not about making yourself rich. Also, I do believe that it is service to others. So yes, money is then something that you need because you need to pay your bills and all that. But at the same time, you need to also give back with whatever you get extra, right?
Yeah, for sure. And another thing that people forget, they think of money as like this pie, that if you take a piece of the pie and then it's gone. but it doesn't work that way. The money recirculates.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you get paid for helping somebody, making somebody's life better, then you can, one, you're helping somebody, then you can pay that money to something that might help somebody. What if you didn't do that? What if you never took any money from them? What would they do with that money? Would they spend it on cigarettes and beer?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah,
you
herein
don't
comes
really
also
know.
the trust part, right? So because then you get that, yeah, people naturally tend to not trust others, right? And so
Yeah.
they're like, I don't know how many critics I see. Oh, you guys are all in it for the money, and then I think, well, it couldn't be more opposite for me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But having that, it doesn't feel good when people do that and when people say that, because first of all it hurts, and second, yes, there are people that do that,
Mhm.
but at the same time it only increases then my paranoia as into the whole money aspect, because you already have that belief system that you don't want people to think that you are in it for the money, right? So and then you get thrown back to those belief system that you said, the fact that rich people, through media and stuff, has made us believe it's not okay to have money and to be, well, to earn it. And so I do feel that this topic is so important now as it comes up, because we are starting to go into these changes in the world where we are more service to others, where we are more, but we still have this stupid money system, right?
Mhm.
And so how do you like integrate that properly without the all these taboos and belief systems that people have, including me?
Well, if anybody asked me that question, if I'm in it for the money, I would say yes. And I'm in it to help people. I want to make money and I want to help people.
Oh,
They're,
that's a good
those, they're
point.
not opposites, they go together.
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
I heard somebody say a while ago something like, uh, be suspicious of people that tell you you can only have one thing or the other thing.
that's true.
There's oftentimes you can have both. And so I think, if I want to help people and I want to make money, and so I'm going to do both. And there's nothing stopping me from that.
Right.
And as for the taboos, I mean, yeah, a lot of people are brainwashed by this. I see it actually whenever I run ads on Facebook. Um,
Right.
when you run ads on Facebook, anybody can comment on your ads, and I get people that are just full of hate because I'm trying to make money,
Yeah.
and it's kind of weird. Like people that I've never seen before, have never seen me before, presumably, but they're just absolutely hate me for running an ad on Facebook.
Maybe because you're
I get emails
successful.
like that too. I get YouTube comments. I get people leave hateful comments on my YouTube saying I'm only doing, like, saying that this is a scam and it's a quick get rich quick scheme on a
That's the thing.
video that has absolutely nothing to do with money, and which I never offered anything. Like, I never tried to sell anything. So
No.
it's weird.
But
It's like a knee jerk reaction from people.
this is what I'm actually, yeah, talking about, because we see this so often, and at the same time it's also, at the end of the day, it's free will. So what is it with these people that they try to protect other people from not exercising their free will, right? Because it's a way of controlling others, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think really it's brainwashing,
Yeah.
and I think, well, it's brainwashing plus people at just a low spiritual level, I guess, that would, you know spread hate over this.
Yeah.
It's weird. You've probably noticed that the people that claim to be tolerant are the least tolerant.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, that's interesting to see, indeed. uh
Maybe it's projection. I don't know.
yeah.
That people
Well,
see people have these problems with themselves, and so they see them in everybody else.
at the end of the day, we're still all healing, right? So everybody has their
Mhm.
issues on one side or the other, and others have more issues, and they choose to put their energy into passing all these YouTube channels to then throw out some hate. And yeah, that for me also is not worth it. I don't even pay attention to it. So
Yeah.
so let's get back to your topics. Yeah, so you have videos about the positive thinking. Can you expand on that a bit, what your view is on that, and your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Well, this comes from the book "The Power of Positive Thinking" by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who, a fun fact, was Donald Trump's pastor in his church growing up. And he wrote this book, and Donald Trump, I think that he lives
He's,
by this.
wait, he is the pastor from Donald Trump that wrote the book?
Yeah, the pastor is the one that wrote the book.
Okay.
And so I read the book and I thought it was really good. It was all about how, if you expect positive outcomes, then you tend to get positive outcomes.
Yeah.
And it's very coming from a very Christian mindset, using a lot of Bible verses as support and whatnot, and a lot of prayer. And it's kind of, I was talking about before how there's this kind of two camps of Christianity and spirituality that are,
Yes.
for some reason, are completely separated. But he marries the two pretty well.
Can you
And
please
so,
tell me the title from the video so people know where to find it? Or
yeah, this is a video series I've been doing every week called "The Power of Positive Thinking," and
okay,
because in the book there's a whole bunch of practical exercises that you can do,
yeah,
that kind of to get yourself in the positive thinking mindset. And so there's so many exercises that you can't possibly do them all at once, or even like process them all at once. So I've been picking one per week and then dedicating myself to that every week. And then I've been sharing it on a YouTube live, just in case anybody else wants to do it with me.
right. Oh, I love that. So can you expand on that for what it exactly, how it works? Because that's yeah, the topic of
Yeah,
that.
sure. There's people in our natural state tend to be negative. I
Yeah,
mean, it's kind of it's instinctual. If you think about if there's a piece of food on one side of you and there's a saber-toothed tiger on the other side of you, well, it makes sense to focus on the tiger. It makes sense to focus on the thing that's a threat
yeah,
before you focus on the thing that's an opportunity. And so our brains are kind of wired that way.
yeah.
And but the problem is that in modern society, that almost nothing really is a threat anymore. That there are no saber-toothed tigers. There's nothing that's going to devour us.
Right.
There's a few things, but not very much. The things that we worry about are a coming deadline at work, or something that's, oh, am I gonna default on my credit a year from now? It's
Yeah,
stuff
yeah, yeah,
that's not
yeah.
really a
Worry.
threat to your health in any real way. But we obsess about that because our brains are wired that way, and we don't have any saber-toothed tigers to obsess over. So we put in the thing that we have to be afraid of, even though it's something minor. And so it takes some conscious training to get off that, because when you obsess over something that's negative, well, you focus on something as negative, you put your energy on something that is negative,
Yeah,
which completely hamstrings everything that you want to do.
right. I find that so interesting because, yes, we can say this over and over again, but then we still keep doing it, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I obviously trained in it as well, and I'm constantly busy training it. But many people, they kind of want the proof before they do it. And so last week I was thinking about something that is very interesting because the effect of positive thinking or um, turning something around. Now, I was thinking if I'm going to do a fast, right? And that fast is going to take 10 days. That means I won't be eating. I will be fasting for 10 days with water only. So, what happens? The first 3 days, I feel miserable as hell. Then, on the fourth day, because your cells are going into a reserve mode, and so your body automatically knows the signal to go in this reserve mode, and so it tries to protect your body in a sense, right? And so what happens the fourth day? You get energy and euphoria. Why? It's just how it biologically works. Now and then slowly what your body does is it resets all the stuff that's going on in there, and it's almost like resetting a computer. So you can do this actually for even 40 days if obviously it is under supervision and all that. And it turns out that it can cure Korsakoff, it can cure schizophrenia, it can cure many diseases. And I was watching the science of fasting regarding this, but then I thought, hang on. So if I get lost in the Grand Canyon for 10 days and I only have water, but now I'm in despair because I'm lost, right? And I'm thinking, oh, I need food. I need food. Now I'm going to starve. And obviously you have all these negative emotions, and your body will still do the same things when you would do a fast. Even let's just assume you have water though, right? Because we can survive on water. Now, say that you have these 10 or 20 days that you usually would fast, it would be like a natural response of your body, and mentally, you are fasting. But in another situation, you would be thinking that you're starving. So what happens? You're actually starving. You start to deteriorate. And then if you're lucky, you get out of life. But on the other hand, you may actually die, all because you have your mind set on you're going to starve, you're lost, you won't survive this, etc. All these thoughts that you get out of fear. And I found it interesting because we have the proof, obviously, that this happens when people get lost. Although they do have water, they might still, either they come out barely alive or they just die. And so how is it that if I consciously choose to do a fast at home and I just have water that I take in, it will actually benefit me? But if I get lost in the Grand Canyon and I put my mindset on the fact that I am going to on a fast instead of panicking about being lost and not having food, would that have the same effect? I think it would.
Yeah, it's completely, it's incredible how much power your mind has over your body. And I mean, it's something that, you talk about it and people think it's fringe, but yet everybody accepts the placebo effect.
Yes.
That if you have faith that you're going to be healed, then you actually become healed. And this is something that's been proven time and again in clinical studies.
Yep.
Right. And this topic in one of the chapters in the Power of Positive Thinking book, which I totally recommend, by the way, it talks about this, but I actually, this kind of hits home for me because I have somebody who's very close to me who was diagnosed with cancer, had, I think it was stage 2 lung cancer, and was getting chemo and radiation treatment, and it was not helping at all.
No.
And so the doctor said that she probably has a couple of months to live. And she basically, what happened, she stopped getting the chemo and the radiation treatment. This was over Christmas time. She just kind of forgot about the health problems, had a nice time. We were doing a strict keto diet at that time because supposedly I had read somewhere that helps with cancer. We're doing like every alternative treatment we could think of at the same time, just on the off chance that one of them happened to work.
That's what I would do.
Kind of just gave it all up, had a nice time over Christmas, forgot about the problems. And then next time she went into the doctor, the tumor had shrunk by 50%.
There you go.
And then, like 6 months later, she was cancer free. So it's just mind blowing to me. Like I always kind of believed this intellectually that your mind affects your body, but that really made it real for me.
Well, yeah, that's because I read the placebo effect from Joe Dispenza, and there was
Oh
a
yeah.
similar story in there where the guy was diagnosed with cancer, and the doctor, obviously, as usual, they say you've got 6 months to live, and after 6 months, the guy dies. And he gets an autopsy, and it turns out he never had cancer. So you can even die if you don't have cancer, but you're just told that you have cancer. So imagine the impact
Yeah.
on your thoughts. And while we now starting to know all this, how is it that many people still don't practice it in daily life? Because we are so used to talk negative self-talk, and the monkey brain, as we call it. And
Mhm.
so I mean, we cannot talk about these topics enough, because it's time that people really start to realize the power of thought.
Yeah, yeah, and the visualization especially. If you something's coming up that's a big trial for you, the
Yeah,
natural inclination is to think about all the ways that it could go wrong
yeah,
and like visualize in your mind every catastrophe that could possibly happen. And so when you do that, you're making it more likely that a catastrophe does happen. You're basically setting yourself up for failure.
yeah.
So you really got to discipline yourself and notice when you do that kind of thing and say, okay, I'm going to force my brain to visualize something positive instead of something negative.
Yeah,
And it
I
really makes a big difference.
absolutely. I always see that. I always think, wait a minute. So my whole life I've been talking negative to myself. Well, if I can do that, why wouldn't I turn it around and do it positive? So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
started doing that. I look younger than 10 years ago. I feel happier. Everything changed. And it's,
Amazing.
yeah, it's amazing. Obviously, I'm still learning, because these belief systems, you have to break them down one by one, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
and
it's a process.
yeah, it is a process. So for example, if you have insecurities about whatever in your life, there is the first thing where you should practice it,
Oh
because
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, it's that's actually where the proof is in the pudding. So that's where
Hmm.
you actually start implementing it, in order to see that it does work that way. But belief systems are very hard to break down, and so we need to find a way how we can turn those belief systems around, in order not to have it bother us constantly in our brains, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
I do that with aging. Like, oh, we all get old. The older I get, so I'm 51. Then I think, oh, next year I'm 52. Gosh, I'm getting old already. No, 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 no. What I'm saying, like, well, it doesn't matter. It's just a number. I'm just not getting older, because
Yeah.
uh, I just want to show everybody that I won't. Just like with my belief. Obviously, you need to still do something about it, but
Yeah.
but it's and I have that proof for myself, like you have that proof from your friend that had cancer, and it just works with everything, right?
Yeah, yeah, incredible.
And so how would you, I mean, how do you, because obviously I haven't seen all your videos, and so
Mhm.
how would you um, tell people to start practicing that? What is the easiest way? How do you approach that?
Yeah, well, first thing that I always recommend to everybody is meditate daily. Like even and meditation sucks when you start. Like nobody likes it at first
Yes.
because you have to just be quiet. And we get so, especially in our society now where we have a smartphone that's beeping at us every 3 seconds trying to get us to look at something. Our attention spans are really bad.
Yeah.
And so, and by the way, if you can cut that down, I highly recommend it. Like when I'm working, I have my phone in the other room, so
Yeah.
it's not bothering me. And I used to be a total Facebook addict. That I would be. I remember, like, I was driving when I was driving, every single stoplight I'd get to, I'd pick up my phone and see if there was a new notification on
Really?
Facebook. And I realized, just, this is so stupid. Or even I'd be watching TV and I couldn't watch TV for 5 minutes without checking my phone.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
like,
No,
this is
I
this is
was always
insane.
conscious of that, because I know all about addictions, and I know addiction goes in everything. And so also in that. And I consciously already tried to, not do that, because I didn't want to get addicted. But in this case, because it's so a mass thing, you get addicted before you actually know it. Like you
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
you know? And so,
Yeah, I'd never gotten addicted to anything before. I thought I was like immune to it, but man, yeah, the smartphone really got me. And so finally I recognized it. I'm like, wow, I'm acting like completely stupid.
yeah. Yeah.
I gotta stop this.
It's the fear of missing out. I see this all the time everywhere. People are so afraid of missing out. And I've tested it for myself, because what I do then is like, okay, wait a minute. If I have so much fear to miss out, I'm just going to do it. So I can prove to myself whether I missed something or not. And so I unplugged for 2 weeks in May, like completely. No internet, or no Facebook, or not Facebook, Twitter in this case, no YouTube watching, no nothing. All I did was in my house doing my own stuff, doing a detox. My mom was here, etc. And so 2 weeks later, I come back and it was like I never left. So 2 weeks and out, but I didn't miss anything. I,
Yeah.
I literally came in like these 2 weeks never happened. And so, that for me
That's awesome.
was proof you don't miss out. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a
Yeah,
way.
it doesn't matter that much. It's an addiction
It
for
is.
sure. Um, yeah, so what I did is I kind of started setting myself a rule. I said, okay, I'm gonna look at Facebook once per day.
Yeah.
And then every other time that I get the urge to look at Facebook, I'm gonna start reading a book instead.
Yeah. Yes, that's what I do. Books, because they take you away as well, right? But in a different way.
Yeah, well, a book it's a prolonged attention. Facebook is really like the worst thing in the world, because you look at a post for 1 second, and you look at another post for 1 second, and so you're
Yeah.
training your brain to be addicted to this constant novelty.
Yeah.
And so if you it makes it very difficult to read a book for even 5 minutes,
Yeah.
right? Because you're used to getting some new stimulation every second. So I started doing that, and then meditating every day. And if you're new to meditation, then just do it for like 2 minutes at
Yes.
first.
Well,
Just
I think it's important, because those people that are watching that don't know about meditation, and the first thing they say, I can't meditate. Well, first of all, it's not something that you can or you can't. It's a training.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
what is meditation?
Hmm.
Meditation is get out of your head and start being in the present. That's all that meditation is. And so once you explain this to people, then they are like, oh, is that what it is? Because they always think it's something, uh, like out there, something that only
Yeah,
Zen people can do. But
yeah,
they don't realize that it's nothing else but getting out of your head and try to be conscious of everything that happens around you or within you the moment that you're sitting there. And that's when you actually get shocked, because the whole reason you can't do it is because you're never in the now. And
yeah,
and that's why we need to train it, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And when you train that, what you find is that you're more aware of yourself. You're more able to observe yourself as though you were a third party. And so when you do something stupid, like you're looking at your Facebook every 30 seconds, then you notice it,
Yes.
right? Most people are walking around like zombies. They're completely brainwashed. They're completely controlled, and they don't even know it,
Yeah.
right? So and all of us are controlled in some way, right? I'm not
Yeah.
trying to say that, I'm better than anybody else, but
No.
the more you meditate, the more you recognize it, the more you kind of recognize your own tendencies that might not be serving you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And something that I think is in those things, we were talking about like observing the worst case scenario and visualizing the worst case scenario, and negative self-talk, and looking in the mirror and say, I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I don't like this. That's something that it kind of gets kicked into overdrive with when you start getting into politics, which
Yes.
is something that I took a long time for me to realize. I would just get so angry about politics, and I just like it would basically ruin my day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get anything done because you can't really create very well when you're angry.
No.
And so uh, I found that I was wasting so much time on this. I mean, I think it's good to stay aware, but you have to balance it. You have to, is the thing that you're spending your time with, is it serving you better than anything else could be serving you?
Exactly.
And for me, 95% of the time, the answer was no. And so one thing is, when politics, everything's negative almost, right? I
Well,
mean,
actually, everything is politics these days too. You
yeah.
know?
So the more if you're focusing on politics, everything kind of tends towards the negative. So one thing that you can do also is you can kind of turn that around. And this is where the religious faith comes in, and it's really helpful, is that everything that happens is under God's control. Everything that happens is part of a plan, and every evil thing that an evil person does is going to do some ultimate good in the end. And
Yes.
so if you can start recognizing that and start, thinking about politics, you think about, I think about, like, if every time I see that somebody gets censored on the internet, for example, or that that thing about those doctors that were talking about a certain disease I'm not allowed to mention, that got completely wiped from the internet.
Yes.
And I see those things, and it seems like a negative occurrence, but I'm like, every time that happens, this agenda that's being forced down our throats becomes more and more and more obvious and in our face. And the more
That
they do that, the more we're going to wake up. So everything that we think is negative really isn't. And so if
exactly.
you can get that mindset, then all of a sudden you see positivity everywhere, even the things that everyone else thinks are negative.
I
And so
love
your
that you
life
say
just
that,
gets better
because
and better.
that is exactly what I do now. Everybody, you know how everybody was whining lockdown, lockdown. Well, I have a lockdown now, fine, but I'm never bored. But what did I notice at the lockdown? Everybody woke up because all of a
Yeah,
sudden they're all stuck with themselves. And I thought, this is brilliant, you know. And while everybody's whining, you look at the big picture and you are like, what is the positive outcome of this? This is, I always, well, we call them silver lining, but really silver lining is an understatement,
oh yeah,
because it is, everything is like yin yang, everything is dark light. And so if there's a darkness to it, there is a lightness to it too. And just like negative thinking, if we can turn around negative thinking into positive thinking, we can also turn around negative events into positive events, because it always has a purpose. And
yeah,
like you said, it comes from God, right? The whole reason it happens in the first place is because it is necessary. And I'll always approach things from that way, because yes, I can get annoyed if my Twitter gets taken down or whatever, but at the same time I'm like, maybe there is a reason this happening, because something better is there that I need to be aware of. And so,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, you're completely right with that. And the same, okay, look at this now. So now we have elections coming up. Everybody talking about it. Oh my God, look at the riots, look at this, and everything is, well, I just talked to you about how bad it is in Europe. Well, yes, I say this bad, very badly. But at the same time, I'm like, wait a minute, but what if this actually is, the whole badness is necessary? So it finally will, because it's like, what do you call that? Like a volcano that's about to erupt, but it
Yeah,
doesn't erupt. That's how it feels right now. But you know what? It's necessary to erupt, because otherwise we cannot have change. And
yeah,
so whatever happens, yes, I do emphasize on the bad, but to me, immediately in my head, I will also switch it around. So maybe I should do this also in my wordings, because that would, you know, teach people as well to do the same. And so now, election coming up, and everybody, oh my God! And then, what if there's going to be fraud? And what if eventually then Trump won't be elected? And this and that. And I'm like, if you stay positive and you put that out in the world, first of all, it will go into the collective consciousness. But if everybody's going to be negative about it, well, just like individually, you can just wait for more negative to happen, right? So
mhm,
at all times, being positive about an outcome, no matter how dire it looks, I think it's important that we start to see the priority of staying in the positive, no matter what happens, right?
yeah, absolutely. Because you bring more positivity, and I mean, my belief is that the nature of reality is such that when something painful happens, it's a signal.
Yeah.
When you put your hand on a hot stove and it hurts, It's a signal to your body to stop touching the hot stove. And so when something painful happens to you individually or to a society, it works both on the individual and collective levels. It's a signal that something needs to change,
Yeah,
right? So right now, I think we're getting a big blaring signal that we need to stop being mindless zombies and wake up.
exactly.
And at the same time, too, that it works on an individual level. So the whole society can be going to hell, but you can be doing great. There are a lot of people that profit in every single recession, or there are people that do really well while the majority are doing badly, and it's kind of up to all of us.
Well, if
And
you think about it, the evil has been doing that all along. Only
mhm,
we, because we are not evil, we didn't do it, so we were used and abused. But now we can actually do the same. We just do it in a positive way, right? Instead of being evil, we can actually manifest it the same way. We use these opportunities to make everything better.
yeah,
Because,
yeah, exactly.
right? And I found that so interesting. I don't know if you ever heard of them. What's he called? The burn doctor. He was like a druid, and they learn how to, because you were just talking about getting burned, and
Yeah.
your body registers it, right? The
Mhm.
same with thoughts. Now, this man says like you can actually train your body to, because why do we get burned, why do you get the blister when you touch a hot oven, so to speak, is because the pain pills that you get will go to your brain, and your brain will immediately say danger, hurt, and burning, and so you get the blisters. And so then what he does is the exact opposite. So um, when you burn, even though the signal gives you immediately pain,
Mhm.
you can actually, uh, you know how cold and hot is almost like the same feeling, extreme cold and extreme hot.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I tested it and I thought, let's see if I can do that. Well, one day, accidentally, because I was really busy with that thought form from, okay, so if my brain register a burn on my fingers, I will feel pain immediately, right? And the pain in a millisecond is converted to all these negative, what you call it, outcomes. So
Mhm.
blisters, more pain, and all that, right? Now, I started training for 2 weeks to actually turn that around and say, as soon as I burn myself, I will actually register that I did burn myself, but I will stop it before my brain gets to the thought of pain, burn, blisters, and everything that comes after it. And
Huh.
so I did that. One day, I burned myself on the stove within those 2 weeks I was training. And so
Yeah.
I burned myself. Immediately, my brain said, okay, pain, nothing is bad. It's just a pain. It's fine. And I stopped myself in the moment that the rest of my brain would go on that, train of the negative. And what do you know? And I burnt myself on a hot burning stove, like instant blister kind of type of thing. And what happens? Nothing. I didn't even get a blister. It was a little bit red, but at the moment I went in my brain and said, okay, my brain just registered a sort of pain, but that's fine. It's all
Huh.
fine. And what do you know? I did get nothing. It was gone. It did what? It didn't even start.
That's
Well, I got burned with less and I got a blister this big. And so when I always test all theories out because I want to know, because once I
mhm.
see it, I know I can imply it everywhere. And I did that, and it's difficult because you need to be focused like for a week or 2 weeks, only thinking that. And
Yeah.
and now I practiced it constantly and it's amazing. So in reality, it's the same thing as the fasting example. You
Yeah.
can have a different outcome no matter what your, it's like, yeah, KB, thank you, it's like the walking on hot coals thing.
Yeah. 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 It's amazing.
It is, but apply that, but only the walking on coals things is that you are prepared before you're going to do it. However, if you burn yourself on the stove, it's not like that happens by accident, right? And that's when you need to be able to react as soon as you feel that sting of burn.
Hmm.
And that's why I was training myself on. I was visualizing constantly, getting burnt, and immediately stopping the thought to go to my brain to then make that sequence of happenings. And 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 it worked. It was
Yeah.
amazing. And so, can you see how that actually works for everything?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that seems to be where science is going, kind of, is that that basically everything in reality is subjective, and
Yes, I
um,
love it.
yeah,
I,
it's getting weird, but it's cool.
yeah, for me, this is like this is a hobby, right? Just to figure out. And
Hmm.
besides, it doesn't cost anything. You do just need to, a few times a day, just like you do meditation. You just
Uh-huh.
start thinking about that, and you just train in your brain, and you visualize it, and immediately you turn around the reaction in your head, and
Yeah.
and when it did happen, the first thing I did, I turned around the reaction in my head, and because usually it happens in a split second, what less than a second time, because your
Mhm.
brain is fast. But
Yeah.
when you train it, your brain will be as fast actually turning it around too. And
Yeah.
and
Amazing.
it's yeah, it's like a train. But let's stick with meditation for now.
Mm, sure. Well,
For
people that are advanced meditators, they get to a point where they have a control of their brain that most people don't have.
Yeah,
That most of our bodily functions are involuntary, so they say, but people can make them voluntary.
exactly,
And
exactly.
I mean, I'm not advanced by any means, but I noticed I can control my heartbeat to some extent.
Yes,
It's
you can
kind of
do that.
cool. And controlling your skin's reaction to being burned, that's pretty incredible. I haven't heard that one before. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a guy, and I can't remember his name. You should look it up because he's amazing. Because you can put him in your phone. Soon as you burn yourself, you can call him, and he immediately turns it around for you. But then I
Really?
thought, yeah, it's called the Burn Doctor. The Burn. Let me see, because really this is important that people see that, because if there's any that's the biggest proof there is, right? If you start, let me see, Burn Doctor. Um, Wait, fire maybe? Yeah, fire burn doctor.
Fire
And
burn.
what you do is you give your name that you got at birth, and you leave the message, and he immediately. And so there are so many testimonials from people that got completely burned, like body wise burned, and within 3 days nothing happened.
Jeez.
Nothing. And he's a druid. Try to find on YouTube the fire burn doctor. And
Okay, I'll check that out. That's very
yeah,
interesting.
and because I was watching that, I was like, okay, that's interesting. And so then I was reading on his website about how that works and what happens. And I thought, well, that makes sense, you know? So, and the Druids were, and he's from this bloodline, and he's also been bashed by governments. He had to flee from, I think he's actually from uh, I think he cannot enter America anymore. I think he lives in France now, and he's been like completely. He helped people from addictions and stuff like that. It's amazing. And
Yeah,
but now we
those
are
people
at
are
the point.
persecuted. It's terrible.
Yeah, yeah, he's constantly haunted for everything. So because this is a knowledge that we now slowly start to discover on the small level. Like you say, if we do meditation, you start to become more aware of your body. And look at monks, they sit on a mountain for 10 years, come back, and after that, they're all Zen. Why? Because
Mhm.
they have complete control over everything. And well, everything is relative, so you shouldn't have control at all because you don't need to, right? Because that's what
Yeah,
it's about. And this is why I think meditation, the whole concept, to make meditation simpler for people to understand, because as soon they hear meditation, oh, I can do that, because
yeah,
they assume it's something that you are able to do, but it's nothing else but getting out of your brain and be conscious of your body, and as a result you will be able to become conscious even when you're not meditating. That's the whole point of it, right?
Yeah, it's super easy to learn. I mean, there's a couple of phone apps that are good. There's one called Headspace, another one called Calm,
Yeah,
that I mean, it'll just teach you in a couple of minutes.
yeah. The
There's
guided
really,
meditations are the easiest because that's how I started. And then at a certain point, I got to the point that I was in a meditation and didn't want to come out because I liked it so much,
yeah,
because you're in this Zen space of nothingness, and it's like bliss, right?
yeah, it's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
So you also talk a lot about other things regarding health, and can you expand a bit on other stuff that you do on your channel?
Well, I don't really talk about health very much. I talked about health a little bit in that in those when I was going over those chapters in the power of positive thinking. Another thing I learned about recently, I read a book called what was it called? EMFD by Dr. Mercola. That was all about how EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, are bombarding us all the time, and they're kind of compromising our health.
Yeah.
And the way that it compromises our health is just a little bit at a time. That's kind of a cumulative effect. So it's hard to tie it to those things. But there are quite a lot of studies that have shown that these have negative effects. So something I've been kind of a project I've been doing lately. I live in a condo, which is
Me
terrible
too.
because it means
Yeah,
that there's like 10 Wi-Fi routers all around me at any given time. But
exactly.
I turned off my own Wi-Fi router and wired up everything with Ethernet cables. So that's the biggest thing you can do, because those Wi-Fi routers are really powerful.
Yes,
Um,
yes. And I have the same. I also live in a condo and I have 5G. I'm surrounded by at least 100 modems because, yeah, well, we live more dense in Holland because it's a small
yeah,
country, and we are like surrounded. If I check all the modems I have around I mean, you're blown away. However, I've been thinking, what if we can fight that the same way that we can fight a burn, we can fight negative stuff? Is it possible? Because I haven't looked too much in the what it exactly is. I only know that the whole 5G and all these EMF stuff affects me, you
mhm.
know? And so I haven't looked yet in how it works, because you want to know how it works in order for it to fight it with your body and your mind. And so,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
that
and
book will tell you in detail if you want to check that out.
yeah,
It goes into the exact cellular mechanism that's doing it.
okay. So
Um,
because I'm
I probably shouldn't try to repeat it to you because I'll get it horribly wrong.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't matter. But then, so you, because I wanted to do that as well with the cable, but it's quite impossible because they only have one spot in my house where I can put my modem. And that means I would have cables all through my house. And so it's kind of difficult for me to get these Ethernet cable thingy. But what I do, if I'm going to sleep, my internet is out off. I mean,
That's great.
because you shouldn't be have internet on when you go to sleep, because we sleep as much as we are awake, well, bit less, but still, it's a lot of hours that we are being bombarded that we could do less with. So is there anything else that you fight this with?
Um, well, to solve the problem of the cables everywhere, I just drilled a hole in my wall.
Right.
So that's that. I mean, I have like two computers and a TV that I run cables to, and
Right.
so it wasn't too bad. Uh, another thing that's helpful that's easy to do is just keep your cell phone away from you,
Yeah, that always.
especially away from your brain, heart, and genitals.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
are the most sensitive parts. And so, usually everybody's got their phone either here or
yeah,
in their pocket,
yeah,
right? So for me these days, I either keep it away from me, or if I want to put it in my pocket, I put it on airplane mode.
yeah,
And if I
yeah.
want to talk to somebody, I use speakerphone.
Yeah, I never put it on my ear. I always talk speakerphone. Well,
Yeah.
I do. I am always home, and also I have this military grade fabric I have under my laptop, for example. So even if I have it on my lap, it won't affect anything. And so, yeah, and I have orgonite, which will take, which turns it into negative ions
Huh.
because,
Okay.
yeah. So I don't know if you know about orgonite.
No.
Mm, okay. So orgonite, this is orgonite. So you have to look up Wilhelm Reich.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, what it does is it's actually technology. Really, it's full of um, there's crystals in there, but lots of metals. And the effect of the dense package of it, of all these metals inside within resin and gold, everything is in here. And so what it does, it gives positive. Wait a minute, negative ions, and negative ions is the good thing. And so positive ions come from EMF and all that. And so
Yeah.
what this does is transmute it into negative ions, which is the good thing.
Huh.
And I have them all over my house, and that changed a lot.
Oh,
Um,
that's good.
People that come here, they say, "Oh, I feel so calm here, always in your house," and that's
Huh.
because I have my whole house filled with these.
Oh,
And you can make it yourself too.
hmm.
And you do need to cleanse them as well because they absorb all that negativity, right? Certain
I see.
point you do need to cleanse them. But yeah, this is literally Wilhelm Reich who has done this, who has discovered this, and obviously he was prosecuted for it as well in the, what was it,
Yeah.
70s or in the 60s. Black tourmaline is excellent. Yes, many crystals are used to do the same, right? But
Okay.
yeah, I found these topics very interesting, and we're already in for an hour, are we? Yes.
Yeah. Sure enough.
And I really love that you touched upon subjects that I always forget to talk about, because that's what you get when you talk to somebody else. You get this, these new thoughts that I remember I learned, and then I can share them as well. But I do recommend everybody to go to Chris's channel, because it is in the description, by the way, and his website. And so check out his videos, because they're really, really interesting. And well, I hope to hear more from you in the future, because yeah, definitely love your stuff. And I will check out these books as well. Can you tell me again the name of the guy that wrote the book, The Positive, uh,
Oh, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale.
Dr. Norman? Well, it's on your channel as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. Norman Vincent Peale.
Vincent. Peel as in P-E-E-L?
Peale.
Peale.
Yeah.
Perfect. There it is for people that want to check it out. And he was then the, what you call it, from Trump? I never knew.
He was the pastor
Oh,
at
pastor.
Donald Trump's church when he grew up.
Really? That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
So I found out about this book because of a hit piece.
Oh,
Some leftist news reporter wrote this piece about Donald Trump and right wing occultism, basically. And so he said that Donald Trump believes in this power of positive thinking stuff that he got from Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. And I'm like, I've heard of this book. I'm going to go read it. Obviously, whatever Donald Trump is doing is working incredibly well. So I'm going to give it a try.
how awesome is that? So you get these left wingers talking about it, which then, you know, pushes you to actually get the book.
Yeah, yeah, they're doing our marketing for us. They don't get it at all.
I always keep saying that. I always keep saying that any publicity is good publicity, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So tonight, but we have a huge purge going on. So tonight I have the Mother of Dragons, and we know what she is doing and what she talks about. Now I'm a bit concerned if that is safe to do for tonight. Um, I need to have a talk about that and to see what is best to do for tonight. So you all know that at 7 p.m. EST, I will go live with her. I'm just a bit worried now. But, again, positive thinking. And thank you, Chris, so much. I definitely will invite you again because you have so much stuff to share. I love it. It's a different angle. You're not per se in the 17 movement, I call it, but that is not what's important. What's important here is that we all can learn from each other in a great way, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate what you guys are doing. I'm not exactly part of the movement, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, take a lot of.
everybody that's awake should come together in any case because we all are teachers and students, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I will keep following you. I hope people will follow you and check out your stuff. And thank you so much for coming. And I hope my viewers loved it. If you do, like, subscribe. And there is finally Kate Awakening. You're a bit late because I'm just going out. And so thank you all. I'll see you at 7 p.m. And well, and you probably will see more of Chris soon as well. Stop.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Patricia.
You're welcome. Bye all.
See you later.